Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Coast to coast college football.
Oh, the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone. He's going to go out of there.
The sickest college football podcast.
There goes Davis. Oh, my God. Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game. He ran the missed field goal back. He ran it back 109 yards.
It's going to be sick.
That's right. It's the Sick Podcast, Coast to Coast College Football Show. I'm John Lund, the East Coast side. He's Dan Lynch, the West Coast transplant. And we're excited to bring you yet another college football show here on the precipice of Week 0. College football finally in the air. And Dan, is this our swan song for like an emergency pod? You know, the guys that actually do stuff professionally and have followings get to put out these immediate reactionary shows. It looks like we're doing the same. We didn't plan
Breaking
this,
news.
but here we are.
Breaking news. Week 0 plus a lot of really crazy stuff that happened in the world of college football today. But I mean, hey, it's our first game week, John. It is our first game week officially on the Coast to Coast podcast. So yeah, happy to be with you here, man. And I was thinking about this today. Do you think week 0, we need a new name for it? It's just confusing, I think, to the casual college football fan. Like, wait, is week 0 preseason? 0 meaning it doesn't count. I just think we could come up with a better name for it. And I've been trying to come up with something. The Corso Kickoff Classic. I like that. But again, that would really probably only work for the ESPN games. But again, maybe by the end of the show, we'll come up with a better name for week 0. I don't know. It's not hitting with me, even though college football is here. I just don't like the name week 0.
Yeah, it's kind of like the NCAA tournament where opening round doesn't really slide off the tongue. First 4 is useless, obviously, for those games and how they've handled moving from 64 to 68 to start with. They're playing games, so they don't really count. It's kind of like the wild card of Major League Baseball where you have to play in just to get in. In my eyes, they don't count. And then round of 32 is one of the most boring names you can come up with before they get into Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4. Nice. Here we go. This is exciting. It gives something to it. Second round, they just forgot about it or got lazy and decided maybe they worked themselves back, went from national championship and worked back. And when they were at 16 back in the day, they thought it was great. And when they went to 32 and it was just the opening round, they thought, well, we don't need to come up with anything new here. When they moved to 64, nobody decided to come up with the second name, which is too bad.
True.
It's like a sequel that didn't get any of the star power of the first movie where they put like a 2 after it. So you knew that it had star power from the first one. They renamed it something different. And it just doesn't stick with the fans. That's kind of how week 0 feels for college football. It's like, well, who's playing? Is everybody? No, it's only a handful of teams. Okay, well, is the first game going to be? Oh, it's in Ireland, so it's a little bit different. Huge, 100-year-old rivalry that's passionate and crazy and has a cool nickname for Armageddon. And they moved it to a country where it appears that several of the bars to get flags out front to promote that this game was happening just Googled Iowa State flag and Kansas State flag. Unfortunately, they sent them the state flag of Kansas and not the Kansas State Wildcat purple. So there's several bars in Ireland that are waving the Kansas State flag and not the team state flag. So not the best start for our friends in Ireland to get everybody excited. Obviously, Kansas State fans aren't going to care, but imagine the trash talk from the Cyclones faithful that they got a Kansas State flag outside the place. I'm sure fans brought their own. They're probably in the hotel. They'll climb up whatever light pole they have to change it out because it's not a great look if they're trying to get excited. But I agree with you. We need a little bit more excitement for week 0. Come up with something, a tournament-esque style, cool name for it. Something with classic, whatever it may be. We'll have to put our heads together, or get one of the fake commissioners like a Josh Pate to get on the case and we could figure it out.
Yeah, let's definitely get the listeners and people to help us out with this. So in the comments or we'll make a poll up here. What is a better name for week 0? We have to come up with something better. Help us out here. But yeah, man, that is pretty wild. I got to look up these state flags for both. That like I guess it's a meme or an online saying like the European mind couldn't compute right now.
Sure.
Like that literally came to life. That's unbelievable and amazing. But let's start with that game, man. I mean, like you said, 100 years. It's such a cool rivalry. I mean, like basically, like when we think about these two actual states, like Kansas State or Iowa State, they're very similar in cultures and also very similarly built as a football team. Right now, I think it's 50. I believe. I don't know if that changed from this morning, the over under, but I don't know. These games are so weird over there. I feel like it's going to be a low scoring affair just because of the nature of both programs. But yeah, it's going to be an awesome game. I cannot wait. 9:00 Pacific, 12 Eastern, first game of the year. No matter what, we got football back, Johnny boy.
Yeah, two great coaches of the Big 12. Matt Campbell, of course, whose name gets mentioned every year. Where's he going next? What team is he going to go after? Can he stay at Ohio State? He's turned that program around so much in the last couple of years, and obviously last year having one of their best seasons of all time, him getting an extension finally putting to rest some of those rumors that always come about with the coaching carousels from year by year. He's got Rocco Becht under center, and you could always look at who these teams have lost either from the portal or for graduation, but at least having somebody behind center that you can rely on has to make him feel great about it. Similarly to Kansas State, they're looking to see what Avery Johnson can do consistently, because I don't know if they have still figured out what Avery Johnson can do as either a passer, a runner, or both. And last year it was playing both sides and maybe not wanting him to get hurt. And should we run him here? And what's going to be the way we use this guy? Is he going to be a Lamar Jackson type, or do we want him sitting back in the pocket a little bit more? But Chris Kleiman of Kansas State has to feel good that he's going to have somebody now under center that he hopes can take the reins and do what Will Howard did before he left to Ohio State and just be a solid quarterback. And if he could figure out how to use Avery Johnson's legs, I think that weapon is just going to really change what their offense can look like. And I don't think he'll be too much afraid to do so this year as maybe he was last year, where it's a young quarterback. You don't want to get him beat up too much. And you looked around the conference at all the injuries that have happened to their quarterbacks in the last couple seasons, and you probably thought, well, I don't want this guy to just have to sit on the bench for however long. Texas Tech has ran into that problem so many times. But two programs that are going to be excited to face each other. As we mentioned, it's unfortunate that it's not at a home stadium. I think one of the great things of college football is those atmospheres, specifically the Big 12, specifically for Farmageddon. I'm sure it's going to be crazy in some senses. There's definitely going to be a lot of Iowa State and Kansas State fans that are down there and are going to be excited. And it'll be a different type of atmosphere. It's grass, it's Guinness in the stands. There's a little bit of difference there. I agree with you with the 49 or 50 or whatever the number ends up being. Seems a little high for the first game while these teams kind of figure themselves out. And while Ohio State somewhat figures themselves out, they've been known to sometimes get off to some slow starts under Matt Campbell the last several seasons. So we'll see if they can get off and hit the ground running. Wildcats are favored by 3. If I have to pick, which we will, I like Kansas State to cover that game. I like them to win it. I think that they're going to just have a little bit more of an edge over Iowa State, but it's hard to really put your foot down and say this is exactly how the game is going to go, because we know with the Big 12, it's anybody's game every week. And with all the changes and the different environment, who knows who might get off to a sluggish start, and that'll hurt them in the end. If it's a back and forth type of battle where the last team that gets it is the one that ends up winning at the end, we'll see what happens with kicking and all those fun aspects of what goes on. But it's exciting to have a marquee matchup in a sense for this week 0.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, last year's game between Georgia Tech and Florida State, everyone went into that game thinking, oh, Florida State is going to stomp the Yellow Jackets in Ireland leave their thorns all over Dublin, and that just didn't happen. And then obviously Florida State had a terrible year ever since that. But yes, officially 49.5. Just taking a look at their offensive lines, both offensive lines only have one junior on the team. Both of those juniors are a transfer. So all other positions, guards and tackles, have all been playing with each other for a year. So I like it that from that perspective. But going back to Avery Johnson, I mean, I've heard people all over the country saying that he could be in the race for the Heisman at some point this year.
Yeah.
He is extremely talented, just plays at a smaller school like Kansas State. But yeah, he's really athletic. I have him in probably my top 6 quarterbacks right now playing in college football. So extremely excited over there. Another interesting game in week 02 that might not be on a lot of people's radars, but I think it's going to be a great game, and a team also who has a chance to be somewhat of I guess a dark horse. Kansas versus Fresno State. Fresno State, man, they are a very hard-nosed football team who are kids from a bunch of Division I transfers who just never got a chance, right? They have big chip on their shoulder. This is a game where a lot of these kids show up because they're only playing on national television so many times a year, right? So it's a game like this, or playing in a big bowl game, or not big bowl game, but a bowl game that's on national television at the end of the year. These kids show up, and you're playing a Kansas team who we have so many questions about going in there, but they have athletes all over the field. So that's my second best game of the weekend. Hawaii Stanford's pretty interesting for us West Coasters. The first look at Andrew GM Luck taking on his Cardinal Brainiacs versus Hawaii, who's just always just a fun team to have a root for. I feel like Hawaii is like every single year is like, hey, no one ever really roots against Hawaii. Am I wrong about that?
No, and especially when they're playing the last game of the night, people are always pulling for Hawaii when they've lost all their bets and they need to get back as much as they can before Sunday comes with the National Football League. I am pissed very much about the start time for this game, 7:30 Eastern time. That's not what we're looking for, Hawaii, okay? We need a little bit something to get us going late into the evening. Why not start fresh and get us excited? There's a Sam Houston, Western Kentucky game at 7 that would have taken us into the 10 o'clock hour perfectly fine. 7:30 Pacific time is what we'd be more looking forward to have this game go into the night. A little old school Pac-12 after dark with Stanford and Andrew Luck sitting maybe in one of the luxury boxes in Hawaii with a lei around his neck. What are we doing? 7:30, a missed opportunity to say the least. It'll be exciting to see Fresno State use a little bit momentum in their locker room talk or whatever they need to do on the bus, because Kansas is going into a refreshed and renewed David Booth, Kansas Memorial Stadium. They got it all nice and nifty.
Beautiful.
The construction's done. They had a drone flying through all the different facilities that they have going on. 5-minute or so video on their Twitter page. It looks absolutely beautiful there and says a lot for what Lance Leipold has done to turn that program back around after some struggles, to say the least. After they had one of the more heavy-set coaches that you'll find in college football history, things went a little bit downhill. Turn the program around, you get that renovation of the stadium, man. We know how it goes. Johnny Manziel can raise his hand and tell you what he did at Texas A&M after he ran through there and made everybody happy. So good for Kansas to get a little bit of excitement into the football program. We know basketball brings it at Allen Fieldhouse, no question. But if you can get fans excited for their football season, it's going to make the people that make the decisions a lot more happy. So that place should be bumping on Saturday in their first game. The nice new seats and the nice new views, nice new scoreboard, good weather. We're back, baby. Kansas football gets the fever. Jalen Daniels, year 69, whatever he's at now, 6 years. It hasn't been great. Last year was an incredible letdown where you have a potential Heisman quarterback, a potential Heisman running back, and it just didn't happen. So I don't know if this is going to be the year where it turns around for them, but you're running out of time. This is it for him. So if it's going to be his time to shine, it's now. And I'm sure he's very motivated to put the last couple of years, some injuries well behind him, and start off on the right foot in a new stadium like that.
No doubt. I mean, he's a hell of a player too. They're sneaky, but again, it really all just depends on him. We saw what happened last year, and that just kind of brings us to our whole point. I mean, the Big 12 this year is just going to be chaotic. And I love that. I love having a conference where you're not going to know every single week what is really going to happen. And it's so entertaining. And yeah, Kansas, I mean, they got a $300 million donation, I believe, in the last like week or two, which, yeah, the program's just kind of moving up and up, and sneaky good uniforms. Like they always show up. Those black uniforms with the big Jayhawk on the side, man. Like, yeah, Kansas could be sneaky, and they're swaggy at the same time.
They figured it out too late last year, except for the last game against Baylor,
Yeah.
of course, but close against Kansas State in that huge rivalry game. It was right there. Close against Arizona State, who, of course, made the college football playoff. They beat Iowa State. They went to BYU and won that game. They beat Deion's Colorado team at home pretty handedly. So they just took too long to get going, which was unfortunate for them, losing at West Virginia, losing to TCU at home, losing to UNLV at home early in the season after losing to Illinois. It was just ugly to start things off and really just deflated the balloon that they had going for themselves. So they're really going to try to change that. No question about it. I think that spread is 13 in favor of the Jayhawks. If you're looking for the Stanford-Hawaii number, that's Hawaii favored by 2.5. So we'll see what happens for that. And, of course, the high score is the Idaho State at UNLV contest.
Let's go.
65.5 points.
Dan Mullen, baby.
Points for Dan Mullen in his return to college football. That's what everybody's looking for.
A statement game. And I've heard a lot of people say, including me, I mean, listen, Boise State was a lot of fun last year, but they lose a bunch of pieces. And of course, the best maybe G5 player of all time, Ashton Genty. But UNLV can be dirty, man. Alex Orgy's their quarterback, a hell of an athlete, transfer from Michigan. And Dan Mullen just is fun. I mean, he pretty much got ran out of Florida. A lot of people don't think he should have gotten even fired. So Dan Mullen could definitely, spark a lot of fireworks in Las Vegas, which is begging to have a college football team do well there. I think it's one of those cities that's like, hey, when we think about modern college football, it's like, man, if Vegas had like a legit Power 5 school there, that'd be sick, man. That would be absolutely awesome. That stadium's so much fun, and obviously it's right in Vegas too. But yeah, I like the UNLV definitely to challenge Boise State at least for a championship this year, and maybe be the G5 representation in the college football playoff.
More than enough action for you to kick things off in week 0 to be named. 5 games to start things off, spread out decently even, except for Stanford, Hawaii, which should be a lot later in the night. Who do we talk to about it? We'll have to get Andrew Luck on the phone and see what happened with the scheduling. He didn't have anything to do with it. He's looking 10 years ahead as the GM, so it's not on him, I guess, to change the times.
Also kind of wild disrespect. A Power 4 team. Yeah. Listen, Stanford, man, like you're not favored against Hawaii. That is wild. Yeah. That is wild. I don't even think that's disrespect to just Stanford, to the ACC, to all of Power 4 football. Like, that's pretty crazy. So I'm rooting for Stanford there.
Have to. Although we had mentioned in our ACC Media Day special, last in the media poll, the Cardinal. Don't put an S on the end of it and respect the tree.
Cardinal.
Yeah, you got to pull for your old guys. There's no question about it. And especially if Andrew Luck's in the building. If he's in the building, I will definitely put money down on Stanford. We'll have to just
right now.
Double check. Because I think his account on Twitter, where he's the old Civil War veteran writing home to his mother, I think he's focusing on the NFL. He's not doing college, if I'm reading things correctly with how he's been doing his discussions. I don't think he's talking about Stanford. I think he's still doing the NFL gig. So he'll maybe have to change if Stanford strings a couple wins together and that account knows that Andrew Luck's in college football. They might not even realize that he's back with Stanford. So we'll have to get
It's not in the storyline yet. It's just not in the storyline yet.
No, not yet. But if you go, because if you go to Hawaii, there's a lot of fun things you could be putting down in the letter home to mother. So maybe they'll figure it out in time before Saturday night comes and we can get a couple messages out to see what he has to say in those letters back home. There you go for week 0. The breaking news that we alluded to, the emergency pod, the immediate reaction, whatever capital buzzwords we have to put for YouTube stupid SEO to get noticed and whatever dumb thumbnail we have to have of our faces wide so people click on it instead of just being normal millennials. God forbid we have to put everything toward Gen Z and lower. The long national nightmare is finally over. The SEC, out of the clouds, decided today, finally, that they're going to move to 9-game conference schedules in 2026. 9 SEC games plus an annual power opponent creates the strongest and most competitive schedule in college football. You won't be surprised to know that I did not write that. The SEC did. Of course, their press conference is all the buzzwords. They announced the implementation of a 9-game football schedule, reinforcing the SEC's position as the nation's leader in competitive excellence and fan excitement. The decision, approved by the SEC's presidents and chancellors following a recommendation by the league's athletic directors, was announced by Commissioner Greg Sankey. Now, of course, this has been in the rumblings for the last several weeks and months. Were they going to make the jump? Is the ACC going to follow suit? It appears that they're going to. That's at least been the rumor, that they will now go to 9 games, which will be fascinating to figure out how they're going to do that with 17 teams. Although I read somewhere that one of the ADs or somebody of power said, we have some of the smartest nerds in college football leading some of our teams. We'll be okay. So I think they'll be able to figure it out. There's some bullet points and parameters now for the SEC in doing so. They'll continue with the single standings, non-divisional structure. Each school will play 3 annual opponents focused on maintaining many traditional rivalries. Each team's remaining 6 games will rotate among the remaining conference schools, and each team will face every other SEC program at least once every 2 years, and every opponent home and away in 4 years. So basically, they're required to schedule at least one additional high-quality non-conference from the Atlantic Coast, which isn't correct, Big 10 or Big 12 conferences, or Notre Dame each season. The SEC will continue to evaluate its policies to ensure the continued scheduling of high-quality non-conference opponents. Dan, what do you think? We did it. Where's our confetti? Where's our power horns? We got to have some graphics or something going up here. It's a beautiful day for college football, and surely this will put all our troubles and cares away, and we'll go downtown. Nothing will ever negatively impact us moving forward. Everything is smooth sailing now for the rest of time, right? This is it. This is all about
college football is solved because Greg Sankey and all of the commissioners finally listened. They finally watched the Coast to Coast College Football Podcast sponsored by Sick Media. Man, this is what we have been talking about all summer. And I feel like if we just keep saying our ideas, how we want college football to be shaped, they're just going to come true because we're 1 for 1 right now. This makes so much sense. And college football will be better and it will be more even. Of course, college football is kind of built off of a notion of like, hey, if you have more money, call off Michigan and you could just pay $20 million and just do whatever you want. But other teams obviously cannot afford to do things on the lines of that, but this makes it a little bit more even. But I think this is also just another justification to what we've also been talking about is the college football playoff expanding, right? So right now, a lot of the Big Ten, I believe, came out last week and have this wild big idea. Hey, you know what? Let's expand the college football playoff. 12's not that. 14, 16, no. 20, 22, 24 to 28 teams. Let's just do it, baby. And 9 games now for the SEC makes total sense to me. And I kind of want them to have a home and home series, at least with the Big Ten. I think that's where we kind of go to. Make it something really fun where now we can even create new rivalries from the Big Ten and the SEC, right? And just kind of make this a new thing. Let's evolve. Let's move things on in college football. So good on Greg Sankey. Good on all of the commissioners. This should be heavily applauded. We break down so many issues that's going on in the sport, but something that got fixed today for the better. So I applaud everyone in the beautiful Southeast Conference. It just means more. It's different.
It just means more. And that is the hope for me and for college football fans, for you, for this show, now the ADs, the coaches, the schools embrace this fun, because now you're being forced to have to play Big 12, ACC, and Big 10. And it shouldn't even be forced. You should want to or should already be doing it in general, just for the good of the sport. You did mention, where's the Pac 12? There's that too. I can throw them a little bone, or
Yeah, I mean,
any
they'll
of
be
the
back
other
next year.
G5s, throw them into the mix for a fourth. And now we can't do that for the poor Pac 12. They have to earn it now, I guess, with these new teams. People have to remember that they're still alive. I think now coaches, ADs can really have a lot of fun with it. Get those new rivalry games, play competitive Big Ten teams, play teams that are closer to home. Now that we're all across the country with these conferences having 16, 17, 18 teams, you don't have to travel from Stanford and go all the way to Miami. You don't have to go to USC all the way over to your favorite Big Ten team, Rutgers. You can make it a little bit easier for these non-conference Power 4 games that you have to be forced to do. I think there's so many fun opportunities now for these schools to really embrace what they're trying to do and really make the sport a lot more fun. We saw it during COVID, how easy it can be to move games around, to drop teams, add teams. People will be a little butthurt sometimes, but the money will talk. If you're paying a team to come to your place or vice versa, everyone will be happy in the end to get that cash and get paid and be able to put that toward your football program. This could be incredible for the sport, and I hope that it is, because it's opened a couple doors now where a lot of teams can take advantage. They can be a little bit easier on themselves if they're not up to par that they want to be and not play the best of the best. But we joked about it several times now. You're basically opening up a college football 26 schedule before the season starts, and you're able to just throw darts at the wall and have some fun with it. So I'm hopeful that that's the direction they go, and it's not clearly still having the cupcake-esque games with the other Power 4 conferences where you're not really trying to really go above and beyond. And it's, we'll play Cal if we have to. We'll play Stanford if we have to. Well, I guess we'll play Purdue, and try to help yourself along the way. Make things challenging for yourselves, because there's going to be several schools that do that. When it gets time to the end, when the committee sits down to figure this thing out, as much as we hate it, some of that stuff is going to be put on paper, and they're going to take it in consideration. Another big thing that came out in the news, which got a little dwarfed by this taking over college football, was that they're adding an additional metric now to what the College Football Playoff Committee is going to look at: record strength. It'll enhance the tools that the selection committee uses to assess schedule strength and how teams perform against their schedule, to apply greater weight to games against strong opponents. Now that we're getting the 9 thrown around there, it'll be a little bit easier to do that. And there'll be more even playing fields for these committees to look at and get a better overview of what teams did throughout an entire season. Who knows what the metrics are going to be and what they're looking for? It changes year to year, seemingly. There's never a template that college football media gets going into these things where you know what they're looking for specifically. Some years it's been, should we have scheduled the strongest non-conference possible? Should we have won our games by 50 points? What was the metric that we had to really check the box off from to give us a better chance of getting into this thing? We didn't really know. But if you're able to do that and kind of get ahead of the fold, and now that there's a potential down the road to not only increase this thing by 2 or 4, but 10, 12, 14, I mean, where is it going to end for everything to get figured out? We don't know, but the best you can do, and the motivation that these coaches and ADs always preach, is just control what you can control. That's the best advice you could have right now if you're trying to make your team the best, put these schedules together, and put the best season forth you can.
Yeah, basically they were just saying, like, football is now AI. Like, college football is now just an AI service that is going to spit out a number, and Alabama technically is better. Like, that's really all it's going to be. And, back in like the early, I guess like the 90s and the early 2000s, they were like, bring it back, the computer's locked and everything. And like, people would be like, no, we need to humanize it again. And now we're computerizing it now. Like, it's just a flip flop. We've seen this so many times in college football, but I guess if they're saying this is going to be more fair, then, more power to them. It should be interesting. We also got the college football playoff announcement date for the release show, right? I believe the first one is after week 10 in November. I think it's November 4th is the first one. It just got me thinking too, like, when is that going to be the initial week 1 ranking system? When are we just going to say, you know what? Love the AP, love the coaches poll. You got us through 100 years. And, granted, they do a lot of great work over there too. But when are we just going to get to the point where it's like, hey, college football playoff rankings from week 0 to week 1? Because it's just a matter of time. It doesn't have to be perfect. Obviously, none of these rankings really matter until like that point. But do you ever think that's going to happen, Johnny? Because if we're talking about the future and using technology in college football, let's just break everything more down. Maybe if we say this out loud here, the college football playoff will just become the ranking system by next week.
Yeah, that could be. And we'll go 2 for 2. I'll tell you what, if the nerds that have been looking over the Excel spreadsheets at ESPN like the number enough to where they're getting enough viewership and enough money toward it, and they advance it backward to see how lucrative it would be to start earlier and earlier as the seasons go on, now that they're buying MLB, now that they've bought NFL, they want to keep buying all the sports, it appears. Now, all of a sudden, ESPN is the monopoly of the sports world. If they want to control as much as college football as they can and take what they will from Fox and NBC and CBS and everyone else that has their toe in the water, this could be theirs. We might very well see it week by week by week with Pat McAfee jumping on the desk and all the pomp and circumstance that goes along with it. If the money is talking about it, we're going to get it earlier and earlier in the season. And as much negativity as that'll put toward teams and pressures and whatnots, if the money's there, they're not going to care.
No, for sure.
Put that on a T-shirt. Put that on a Sick Media Podcast, Coast to Coast College Football T-shirt. If the money is there, they're not going to care. That's what's happening in college football. All that is problems for future us. All you folks have to worry about is week 0 is here. Our friends across the pond, get excited for Farmageddon. Our friends in Canada, take a little gander at what happens over in the Big 12. Ignore the Kansas state flag, the flag of the state of Kansas. It's a little bit different if you Google Kansas State Wildcats flag. That's what you're looking for. Throw that in your computers to make sure you at least have the logo correct before Saturday at noon Eastern time kicks off. That'll do it for the Sick Media Coast to Coast
Johnny. I think before we go, let's
more breaking news.
Yes, more breaking news. Jackson Dart actually looked amazing tonight for the New York Football Giants. But no, okay, let's start our picks. Let's go. We're going from week 0 on. All right, real quick. Let's start with the game that we've been talking about the most, Farmageddon. Number 22, Iowa State versus number 17, Kansas State.
Yeah, put me down for the state of Kansas football team Wildcats flag.
Okay,
-3.
I'm going to go with the Wildcats as well. Now I completely lost. Oh, this is the top 25. Okay, Fresno State versus Kansas.
I will actually take Kansas. I think the number favors Fresno State. I want to say our friends at Heartland College Sports for the Big 12, Pete Mundo, said they have covered 4 of the last 5 times against the Big 12, but the last time they did was like 2007. So the number is not as accurate as the stat would lead you to believe just from how the conference has changed. So I will put my fare with Lance Leipold, just because I've maybe talked to him on the phone once or twice before. So I'll lean that, and
good guy.
Year 94 for Jalen Daniels. Come on, baby. Don't wear that chain with the Apple Watch around your neck showing the highlights quite yet. That's what doomed them a couple years ago at Big 12 Media Days. I haven't seen it since. That's good. Bury it. You might have buried it at the new stadium while they were doing the construction. Throw it in there and put it to rest. Let me the Jayhawks, the other state of Kansas football team.
The other
Roll
state,
with the
yes.
flag.
Same state flag.
Rolling with
yes.
the flag.
Okay, I'm going to go with the hard-nosed kids of the Bulldogs, Fresno State. One of the best actual bowl games I've ever been to involved the Fresno State Bulldogs. Their fans are unbelievable. I think the most underrated fan base actually in the country. So we're going Fresno State there. Okay, random game. Sam Houston versus Western Kentucky. Can't tell you a lot about this game here. Western Kentucky has a better mascot. Going Western Kentucky.
Yeah, I'll go in mascot too. 10.5 is what they're giving Sam Houston. Shout out to the Hutchins Industries LT Smith Stadium in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Rolls right off the tongue. Be excited at that game, home fans. Let's go.
Okay, we'll go Hawaii versus Stanford. I'm going to take Stanford in this game. Put some respect on Andrew Luck's name. Put some respect on the ACC. Put some respect on the Cardinal. Even though everyone loves Hawaii, Rainbow Warriors, awesome. They have a great story too. Playing in this little high school stadium while their stadium is going to be built. Have you seen renders of the stadium, by the way, John?
It's if you close your eyes and thought, what would a stadium look like if you threw it in Hawaii? Yeah. That's exactly what it would look like.
Yeah. But still with that point, I'm taking Stanford there.
Yeah. The only thing that sticks in my craw is that this was a slap in the face to Pac-12 After Dark, seemingly on purpose. And because of that, actually, I'll take Hawaii. And Andrew Luck, if he's there, that's going to be what I would have gone with. So when they show him in the stadium cheering on the Cardinal, I'm going to feel bad about it, and that means Stanford's going to win. But because of the disrespect and the slap in the face to the Pac-12, I'll actually fade the hatred of that and take Hawaii, despite them not being at a time that I find fitting. So in a way, I'm helping Stanford out and our old friends from the Pac-12. So hopefully that'll be in their favor for that. Yeah, we'll keep track of these and see how well we do for you degenerates out there. We're looking for late Hawaii games moving forward. Help us out when you're at home, please. 7:30 Eastern time.
Last game, UNLV, Idaho State. I think we're both going to agree on this, right? The Fighting Dan Mullins rolling the dice in Vegas. Yeah.
Have to. Vegas is going to be bumping, as it maybe still is, depending on what Twitter feed comes through your timeline, showing desolate hotels and airports and $50 charges just to open the refrigerator in a hotel room because they don't want you to use the mini bar, which was fascinating at one of the places. But as somebody that works for VSiN, I will put my staff in the ground and root for Vegas for this game. There you go. There's 5 games from us. Obviously, if you have a lean or a strong or a best bet or whatnot, I guess I will give you the Wildcats. But even still, going against the fact that because the flag is wrong, that probably is going to be a bad omen for them. Yeah. And they could be doomed playing Ohio State now because nobody got the flag right. Not their fault.
No.
And we don't know if Kansas State fans haven't already climbed up there and switched them out. So that's the hope, that they've made right what was wronged and we'll be okay. Seeing the symbols of the schools, though, already in the Guinness glasses has been glorious. And hopefully it'll live up to the billing. That's it for breaking news. That's it for picks. That's it for us. Come back next week. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at London Bridge. He's at Dan Lynch Sports, SPURTS. We're also at SickPod CFB. We've got clips of the show that come out several days after the actual episode comes out, so you can keep with us on there and help us out to see what a good name for week 0 would be to kick off the college football seasons. We're on YouTube, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify. Like, rate, subscribe, all the things that people tell you to do at the end of your favorite podcast, do for us. It'll help. And we'll see you next week for a recap of week 0. We'll see if we were right. And then, oh, baby, everybody back, ready to rock. Week 1. Talk to you guys later. Remember, the Kansas State Wildcats have a different flag than the state of Kansas. Little trivia question for you when you're at the bar in Ireland.
And And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Coast to Coast College Football on YouTube, X, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.